Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here, and today we are making ATCs from a vintage Masterboard. So I'm starting off, I pulled some collage papers, tissue papers that have been stamped, and all in the red zone and coral zone, and I have an old music sheet. I think this dates back to the 1920s. It's old, it's crisp, and I just want to have that color. I'm looking towards going to kind of that parchment and red tones. At least that's what I'm thinking at this time. Underneath is simply copy paper. I am just going to collage this in. I want to make a masterboard. So I'm fairly new to masterboards. I used to call this like a collage sheet that I would then take and turn into whatever I wanted. It could become an Insta background for an art journal page. It could be cut into postcards or ATCs. And I learned that a masterboard is basically what I've been referring to as a collage paper or collage sheet. Whatever the terminology, that's what I'm doing here. I'm just creating a paper with, in this case, collage and a little bit of paint or whatever that is going to become the background. So this is, as I said, a copy paper, 11 and a half or 8.5 by 11 copy paper. And I'm just gluing this down, and I chose to use my Deco Art decoupage medium. And while it worked, I can firmly say right now that I highly prefer the Liquitex fluid matte medium. I've been using that lately and I think I've been spoiled. But use what you have. If you have Mod Podge, use it. It just reacts a little bit differently. So I'm just collaging the colors on. They're kind of coral, orange, red, yellow. And I admit that, with February coming right around the corner here, I was thinking that this maybe end up being Valentine-ish, Valentine-y kind of ATCs. What you see me ripping there is just deli paper that I had stenciled through with just black paint. And I'm pretty much covering the entire surface with the various collage papers. This is a great way to use up those little bits of gel prints that you have. They can become the background and the starting point for a page, or in this case, a masterboard, all without paint. At this stage, I'm liking the look. The colors are good. Everything is making me rather happy. Using all the gel prints and the collage papers, little bits are going to peek through at the end. Then I grabbed this brand new stencil, Nature Circuitry. It's from the Crafters Workshop. It's one of their new for 2020. And I love this motif so much. I'm sure I'll be using those dragonflies and butterflies, but this motif, which I'm putting in with light and fluffy modeling paste, absolutely love. It gives a graphic interest, and this one is going to be texturized. Loving this right now, and I wish I had stopped right here. So then I scrape some gesso across it just to break it up, and I want that to pick up paint a little bit, add a little bit of texture, and kind of make everything that I've added to the background a little more cohesive. I'm not sure that that worked, so I grabbed another brand new stencil and I decide I'm going to do some black paint. Now I love this stencil and I've used it in other things and it's absolutely lovely. But I did not use this stencil correctly. I should have stopped with a little bit here and there, but as you're going to see, I don't stop. And my lovely background becomes history. Right about now, I have that sinking feeling in my stomach, and I'm going, OMG, this is not where my brain wanted to go. I'm sure you've all felt this way. So I'm thinking, okay, now what do I do? So I grabbed some white gesso and I thin it down and I'm going to do a wash. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to push that black down, temper it down, and just basically neutralize the background. And it kind of did that, but I'm not happy. I want to see more of that red. It's still, that pit in my stomach is still there. Seriously thinking about gesso, but thinking, okay, let's just add a little more color to it. I grabbed quinacridone magenta, some red, my Naples yellow, and I'm going to do some more stenciling. Another Crafter's Workshop stencil. And again, I do not use this stencil, I do not show this stencil in its greatest capacity at all. I want to add more detail. I want to push back that black. That is my goal. And I thought, okay, if I put more color on that, I'm going to push that back. It's going to fade into the woodwork. I'm trying to use the tricks I know to save this page. Love this little motif. I laugh because I posted these ATCs on in social media, sharing them with everybody, and they were a big hit. Then I take that motif and I do the teal. I'm thinking the teal and the coral, that's a good compound. Again, my goal was to push that back, and I'm adding a little more bright color and it's looking good. Another brand new stencil, which I absolutely love. But okay, and again, my goal here is to push back that black mistake. So you can see I'm spending a lot of time trying to undo what I had done. Now, some of you might think, oh, Karen, really, you should have stopped, put a coat of gesso and started over. But I didn't want to lose the collage papers and what was there. And I just wasn't going to give up. So I grabbed my glazing medium and mixed it with the burnt umber. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let's go vintage. Wasn't the plan. I can't get these colors bright enough for where I want to go. So I give this a coating with the glaze medium. Adding more, taking off, building up the layers, trying to catch it in the gesso, in the pattern. And I figure, okay, it's probably as good as it gets. Now I know my plan all along was to cut this up into ATCs. And I know something magical happens with gel prints or collage papers or a masterboard for that matter when you cut it up into a smaller size. It transforms it. And I know with the ATC, I'm going to put one focal image on there, and the background's not going to be as overwhelming. I'm still living in hope that I can save this. I just treated myself to this Tim Holtz cutter, and I am loving it. So here's where the magic started to happen. As soon as I grabbed the makeup sponge and edged these with black, they started to sing. And I think that when I was doing the masterboard, had I edged the outside, it would have framed it. And I often do that in the process of creating a page, but because I was cutting it, I wasn't going to do that. And I think that was throwing me off. But you can see instantly that just made it work. Then I take that makeup sponge and I'm rubbing it very lightly over that modeling paste that I applied through that very first stencil, Nature's Circuitry. And it is becoming a major feature on all of these cards. You can't see it, but I really wanted to bring that up. And look, you can see the magic that happened here. This is where I'm going, yes, saved. Because if I had taken a bet, I probably would have said this, you would never see this video. And again, I just love that. And that is the joy of using texture paste. But you need to do a step to bring out the texture. And rubbing it with kind of a dry makeup sponge is that. You can see it just instantly made this better. And you can see that stencil. All the other stencils have just become marks and details. Now these ones, there were 3 there that did not have any texture on them. And they were looking a little bit plain, a little bit blasé. So I got out the modeling paste and I put that through the stencil. Now I'm putting some script stamp on here, just building up some more interest in the background. I'll put a link to whatever products that I use. You can also so they're the ones that have no texture. And they're pretty blah. So there's my stamp storage. I'm loving that system. So here's where I grab the modeling paste out again, grab that stencil, and I'm putting that on with the light and fluffy modeling paste. Now with these 3, I leave the modeling paste white, just to give a little bit of variation. The stencil is fairly delicate, so when you're cleaning it, make sure it's on a flat surface and be very gentle with it. And I cleaned it right after I used the modeling paste. See how just it's very, very careful. So I'm holding it down and rubbing very softly to get off that modeling paste so that I can preserve this stencil because it will be used, let me tell you. And there you can see the white, and it's a different effect than the ones with the black. So I go through my stash and I have some dollar store sticker embellishments. I've got some hearts that I cut out that I've saved. I've got some butterflies, and I just pulled out things that went with the background. So there was green, there was teal, there was some orange in some of them, and I just laid them on top of the cards till they worked together. Now, even though this was all cut from one masterboard, each one has some different colors. And here I'm just taking all the embellishments and the sentiments and edging them. So there you see the green because there's lots of green in the background. So now that I have arranged and figured out which embellishment I want and which sentiment, I did take a picture and moved it off to the side because I want to add some splatters to all of these. And I'm adding white. And of course I got some globs there, so I grab it and clean it off. I add some white and then I add some gold because you need a little bit of bling. I was hoping the white would just lighten it just that little bit, and it did. So there's the gold, and I'm using my fan brush. Now this fan brush is fairly loose. It's an old worn out one, and it's works really well for splattering. Arranging these and just gluing them down. So if you have a page that isn't going the way you want, just keep working on it and try some of the tricks that I tried, whitewashing it, adding more color to push back what you don't like, doing a wash, making it more vintage by using, right? All those things can work. And if none of that works, you know what? I had my white gesso at the side. I could have put a coat of gesso there. I would have had all this lovely texture that was still there. The modeling paste was there, and I could have started over. Keep it simple. I laugh because this page was supposed to be simple. It wasn't. These had little foam, so they were 3D, but they will be going in the mail, and I didn't want them quite so thick, and I wanted to make sure that they adhered. When things have are stickers in their dollar store, sometimes they're not exactly a great adhesive. I've been spending some days sorting through my stash and organizing it in a different way, and there will be a video showing that. And I found a lot of these things, and it's on my list. I need to use them. The goal isn't to collect the most things. The goal is to use it and honor your supplies and your by using them. When I started, I did a lot of ATCs, but I don't do a lot right now. So I have some of these smaller scale things that absolutely needed to get used. Leave me a comment telling me about your mishap page and how you tried to save it and your experience. It saves time when you're doing ATCs like this because you're kind of doing it assembly line. You're doing all the gluing, all the edging, all the splatters, all together instead of doing one at a time. Then I grab my Sakura glaze pen. This is black and it's dimensional and it's shiny. And I'm outlining all the sentiments and adding some details to the hearts just to give it a little extra thing. I don't want to spend an overlot of time, but I'm a perfectionist. I had to stop myself from shading. Making this a little bit bolder. I have some close-ups of these ATCs. Let me know what you think of the finished project. I absolutely love them in the end, but I laugh because the journey was not a smooth one, but it was worth the battle in the end. Give me a comment, give me a thumbs up, share this video with your creative friends. If you're looking for any of the products, check out the links in the description box. Bye from now.